So our first up is Kim Barnes, and I have a wonderful bio for her. So Kim Barnes was raised by wolves in the forests of northern Idaho and still amazes interviewers with her ability to sometimes speak good English. As one disbelieving critic noted, the miracle isn't that she writes well, but that she writes it all. Her poems, stories, and essays have appeared in the New York Times and the Porcupine Gazette. Her 2 memoirs and 3 novels have received words of praise, both high and low, but none so laudatory as this from Kirkus Review. At its best, Kim Barnes' second memoir has given American literature its first cowgirl classic. At its worst, we have soft porn for English majors. Tonight, Kim will be reading from her novel in progress, Salvo. Did I say that correctly, Kim?
Salvo's good.
Salvo. So everyone, welcome Kim Barnes.
I want to first of all thank Jennifer Hawk. This is the launch and it's a great one to the Hemingway Festival Week. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you all for coming out to support these events. I'm going to read a few pages from my novel in very long progress, currently titled Salvo. The setting is modern-day northern Idaho along an isolated river that shall not be named. Stead is a retired logger recently diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. He finds what calm and comfort he can in fly fishing, but he can't escape the dementia and strange workings of his emotions and memories. It is still dark when Stead steps off the porch of the cabin. Beneath his waders, he has layered himself in wool. He had gone to bed knowing that this is what he wanted to do, and he wanted to do it alone. He had woken once in the middle of the night. There was a strange, angry noise in his head, and he thought at first it was something outside, but then he realized that the sound was coming from him, that he was crying, though he has no memory of what he might have been crying about. It had been easy enough to fall back asleep and wake at dawn with the sense that all was well. It is too cool to have the pickup's window down, but he wants to feel the dawn coming. It isn't just the light that breaks, but the sounds and smells of the air itself. One moment, the world is gray, formless, hushed. The next, a robin is chirping. Insects are queuing up behind, and the bright sun candles the incense from cottonwood and willow. There is a stirring, a milling, a mixing that he can feel in the breeze against his skin. It lifts the hair on his arms as though the sun were a magnet, drawing up the sap in everything. By the time he pulls off the road at Two Bear, the eastern sky is beginning to bronze. He takes his rod and walks to a log along the river's edge, where he can wait for sunrise. He lights a cigarette and remembers something he hasn't thought of for a long time. Waking next to his boyhood friend, Owen Ledlow, in this very place, having spent the night sleeping on nothing but a tarp, 2 army blankets for cover. How old had he been when he had started stealing away, escaping the menace his father had become? 11, 12. He and Ledlow had spent much of that summer camped along the river, swimming its holes, fishing its currents. He remembers one trip in particular, when they had walked from their homes to the river with their poles, bedrolls, and 4 biscuits wrapped in wax paper. No other supplies, just the stream to drink from, and whatever fish they caught, cleaned, skewered on whittled sticks, and roasted over their campfire. He is remembering morning, just before sunrise, when he had wakened to see the darkness peeling back in layers, red, and then orange, and then yellow, until all that was left was the blue shell of sky. He was drowsy, lulled by the warm smell of the blankets, the yeasty odor of his body beneath, the tinge of wet moss and dry rock, and Owen's sharp breath at his shoulder. But there was another exhalation, and he had opened his eyes to see a doe standing over him, her nose only inches from his face. Maybe because he wasn't afraid of her velvet muzzle, the swivel twitch of her ears, or maybe because of her tender, almost touch, he had lain still, feeling the gentle inhalations as she took him in. Even now, it is like a dream to think of it, the morning mist rising off the water, the otherworldly light. He had closed his eyes, opened them again, watched her step into the river, and begin to swim. When she reached the far bank, she turned to look at him once more, and then vanished. Stead feels the burn of his cigarette against his fingers and drops it to the rocks. He raises his eyes to the eastern horizon and is stunned to see the sun already there. He has missed the very moment he was waiting for. What hits him first is a sense of rage that buckles his insides, and then that rage turns to fear. He clenches his eyes, takes a ragged breath, and plucks at the front of his waders like a child at his blanket. He cries out for his mother, but she does not answer. The terror is so intense that he is certain it will kill him. But then, just as quickly as the seizure began, it ends. He opens his eyes, blinks the water away, and remembers why he woke in the middle of the night, sobbing. He had dreamed that he was a boy again, that his father had come into his room and awakened him to tell him that his mother was dead. Thank you.